5 deals. The next guy had 60. And I said, I'm going to be the number one solar guy. And I would sit through those sales meetings, and I'd watch guys sit 5 and 6 deals a week. And I was like, holy shit, how are they doing this, man? I can bust my ass, every single day knocking doors, and the most I can get is 3. And I made that my commitment, and I made that my goal. And then fast forward the end of the year, I was the number one solar rep here at Fusion Power. So I had 117 accounts. The next guy down had 106. So I was able to accomplish that goal. And so
this is going to be a fun episode, baby. We got Fusion Power in the house. Let's go. We got a couple of beasts in the house. What's up? Luke Ward and Tyler Mcallister. What's up, guys?
What's up, Joe?
Bro, I just got to make sure everybody knows. I got to make sure everybody knows Luke Ward is a actual beast. 1,100 deals over the last 3.5 years. Just started solar in 2020 from Alarms. Guy is a monster, so I'm really excited to have him on. And Tyler Mcallister is the Chief Visionary Officer, one of the founders of Fusion Power, and one of the best sales trainers out there in the industry. Appreciate you guys both being on here.
Thank you, Joe.
Thanks for asking me, bro. Appreciate it.
Yo, you guys know Josh King? Have you guys met Josh King before? Virtual Solar Club, Sunevo.
What's up, Josh?
What's up, Josh?
Guys? How we doing?
Doing good.
Yeah, you guys are the door knocking masters. This guy is the virtual solar sales master in the industry. I'll tell you that right now. So, yeah.
Got lots to learn from you, Josh.
I also did door knocking. People always just list me as pure virtual. I knocked 1 million doors, but probably nowhere near as close to 1,100 deals in 2 or 3 years. That's
but he was never in solar before. He was just doing alarms and probably crushing alarms. So Luke, just real quick before we get into it, can you just tell us that little background story of your alarm background, how you got introduced to solar, and how you got started off such an immediate rush?
Yeah, I appreciate that. Actually, I met Tyler Mcallister. So you got to understand, I came on during COVID. So I had had a guy, we did a blitz trip in California, and one of my guys sold a solar deal and made $18,000. I was pissed that he sold a solar deal and not alarms. He was still selling alarms, but I was pissed about him selling a solar deal, but also making $18,000 got my attention because that was a lot of money. Alarm deal is about $800, and then fast forward 6-7 months, I took my kids to a place called Main Event where they have laser tag, bowling, and Fusion was having their Christmas party there, and I heard about Fusion from that guy selling that solar deal, and all these kids run around in Fusion shirts, and I was on my way out. And I have about 8,700 customers in California for alarms, and I have all of their information. And so I was thinking I was just going to maybe make a relationship and pitch these guys solar. And on my way out, I ran into Tyler Mcallister, and I told him what my idea was. And I was like, yeah, I got a lot of customers in California. I got this database. I can call these guys. I already have rapport with them. We have all of their information. I have their emergency contacts. I have just a bunch of information on them. And he was like, yeah, come in the office. And this was right around Christmas time. Came in the office and was kind of like interested. He's like, here, we can onboard you. This is what it looks like. And then I didn't do anything with it because alarms were still paying the bills. I was doing really well on alarms. I own my own alarm company. I still own it. It's based in Bakersfield. But and then fast forward to COVID, and shit got shut down. California, one of my guys got arrested for knocking doors in Santa Cruz. And I was like, oh, crap, what are we going to do? The majority of our production came from California. We did blitz trips. I would do blitz trips over there with the team. And then not only did they shut down in California, but then it shut down in Arizona. And I was terrified, man. I've got to be honest with you. I was scared. I was like, what am I going to do? And I remember I had talked to Tyler Mcallister on this thing, and Arizona was shut down. And so they weren't doing meetings. And I connected with Tyler, and I was like, dude, I'm interested. What do I got to do? I did this Sun Run training, which was like 3-day thing, dude. It's a lot of training. And eventually I got onboarded. And they're like, well, we're not knocking doors right now. We'll give you a dialing system and you can start making calls. You got to understand where I came from. I had no clue how a solar system worked. I didn't know red lines. I didn't know commissions. I didn't know anything, had absolutely no knowledge, had no idea how to build a proposal, had no idea how to sell this thing. What I did is I was like, I'm going to do it. And I just started hammering at the phones. And in the meantime, we had a training system that they had purchased, and I just started plowing through video after video. I'd watch them every single day. I just started plowing through them. And then what do you know? My first month dialing, I landed 5 accounts, sold all of them, 5 in a row. And then I saw how much money I was going to get paid. I was like, dude, this is a lot of money. In fact, if I just sell solar and don't have a team, I will make more money selling solar as an individual than owning an entire alarm company. And so I saw the vision of this. And so that was in April. And then May, what happened is we opened back up, and I started going to the meetings and stuff. And eventually I was like, dude, I'm going to do this thing. And I just plowed through knocking doors. I'd start at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and I wouldn't get done till 8, 9, 10, 11 o'clock at night. I'd take a guy out with me. I got a guy with me, and we started going out, and we plowed through doors 6 days a week. And I told Tyler, I was like, dude, I'm going to be the #1 solar guy here at the end of the year. You got to understand, I had 5 deals. The next guy had 60. And I said, I'm going to be the #1 solar guy. And I would sit through those sales meetings, and I'd watch guys sit 5 and 6 deals a week. And I was like, holy shit, how are they doing this, man? I can bust my ass, every single day knocking doors. And the most I can get is 3. And I made that my commitment, and I made that my goal. And then fast forward the end of the year, I was the #1 solar rep here at Fusion Power. So I had 117 accounts. The next guy down had 106. So I was able to accomplish that goal. And then just to headline this, every single year I just develop higher, bigger, and higher goals and stuff year after year.
Yeah,
I've heard that story a lot with people coming from other industries, and then they see a solar commission check and they're like, what the hell am I doing? The first time I saw it was like 2014, 2015. Just started our solar campaign, and the owner of this dealer that we were building this campaign for, his buddy walked into the office one of my reps came in, he walked past us. I'm like, oh, what's up? He's like, oh, I'm just heading to an appointment. It's like, okay, cool. And this guy saw it, came back 2 hours later or something. And then it's like, oh, you closed it? He's like, yeah, I did. And then he looks at him. And this guy was in like traditional, like the equivalent of pest control in Australia. So like LED lights, energy campaigns. And like, you closed it down? He's like, yeah, I did. And the guy asked him, like, how much did you make on that, by the way? It's like, oh, I made $3,000. In Australia, that's the big solar commission.
Yeah.
And you just see the light bulb went, holy shit. And a few months later, he started a company called Australia Solar Company, which was eventually one of the top producing solar companies in the country. It's like, when you come from other industries, you can use the exact same or similar sales strategies, but then your commission 5X's. You're like, what the hell am I doing?
Yeah, 100%. Even owning a company, even owning a separate company. But then when you see the amount of money that's to be made here in solar, dude, it's like nothing, everything pales in comparison. The only way you can make this type of money, I think, if you're selling yachts, you get kind of commissions like this, but how many yachts a year do you have to sell to make this type of money? Even realtors aren't making this type of money. I mean, 7 figures, you can just put your nose to the grindstone, man. You can easily make 7 figures in this industry. So it's figuring out a system and a process and adapting the system process, and then commitment and hard work and stuff. And typically, I mean, even scrubs, even people that are barely working, go out 2 days a week, are going to make $200,000 a year. That type of money is just unreal. It's unfathomable, And the other thing too, the transition from alarms to solar, it's like identical, but they're bigger purchase contracts. Rather than selling a $3,000 contract, you're selling a $30,000 contract. It's the same exact model, with the exception, there's a little bit more details, there's more in-depth. You're not going to go to someone's house typically and within 45 minutes run their social, sell them a $35,000 contract versus a $1,700 to $3,000 contract for alarms. So it's very similar, though, very similar in nature. I think Tyler came from alarms. Tyler did alarms for years and years and years and stuff. And so it's just a natural progression. And you see a lot of the guys that are doing really well in this industry are all old alarm guys that we've been in this industry for a super long time. And we just transitioned out. Alarms have kind of phased out. I know there's still Vivint and stuff that's doing real well, but that same model is no longer in existence. And that model that you used to have is no longer in existence. Now they're financing, and then you have a monthly tail on stuff on top of it. So you can kind of see that natural transition, and you can kind of see where solar is transitioning. It's a very disruptive technology. This is arguably one of the most disruptive technologies in the United States. First of all, and first and foremost, for any listener out here, you got to understand, get in while the getting's good. Right now, we're making thousands of dollars per deal. Guess what? As this industry evolves and changes and stuff, you can see the shrinking commissions that we will be making.
Yeah.
So if you're sitting at home and you're knocking 2 days a week because you want to make your $10,000 a week, listen, you're leaving a lot of money on the table. And what you got to understand is the evolution of solar. I saw this happen in alarms. I saw the transition from, say, you got these rinky-dink Ring Security. You got Safe Home. You got these little companies that come out here, $18 a month. It's not very long until something like Australia happens, which is what, $2 a watt, maybe $1.80 a watt.
Way less than a
Way
dollar.
less than that. It's a matter of time until we see this industry kind of go like this. So get in while the getting's good. Hit on this gold rush. Capitalize on this market. Make as much money as you can so that you can transition and so you can pivot when stuff changes. Now, EPCs will stay in business because they're always going to need installers. But if you're a sales rep, a sales manager, a sales org, you got to really prepare yourself for the future. And this is my firm belief. I saw the natural progression and transition from alarms, and you can see that definitely taking place in solar. One other thing, Arizona is arguably one of the most difficult markets to sell in.
Yeah.
We have APS, which is billing, and it's getting progressively worse. And then we have SRP, which is some crazy, weird hybrid system where they're like 1/4 half-size systems in comparison. I think the rest of the nation will eventually adapt to what Arizona has done. And we can see this progression throughout the United States, California for one, all of these other states that are getting rid of net metering. And so, Joe, you've been in the market for a long time, right? You've been doing solar for a long time, right?
Yeah.
You capitalized when this was brand new field. You're the pioneer of solar, right? And people understand as we naturally progress and as the cost of solar comes down, as the price per watt comes down, it will eventually end up like Australia. And then what happens to the sales guys and the sales commissions? Eventually, what, $500, $600 a deal? How many people are motivated?
Less now.
$5,000 a deal to make 500. So I'm getting it while the getting's good, man. I'm capitalizing on every market that this has, and I'm making sure that I make as much money as I possibly can through this changing market.
And just to scare people even more about where it could head to increase the urgency here. I love how the Americans say, "Oh, what is it? Is $1 $500?" No, that was 5 years ago. Australia now, you can get a 7 kilowatt system fully installed for $3,000. What solar looks like now is it's a commodity. So what Australians have already owned 2, 3, 4 systems. So now it's just inbound calls to 5 or 6 companies, sales reps on the phone taking inbound calls saying, what do you want? What panel do you want? What inverter do you want? And making $50 a deal. That's what it looks like right now in Australia. But similar to Australia, all the guys that came from what I call takeover products, so energy in Australia, oh, you're on this plan, I can get you better plans, no extra out of your pocket, sign here. Alarms, oh, you're on with that alarm, no, I'll get you a better deal over here, same thing. Solar is very similar to, like you said, so the takeover industries are massive, and that's why you see a lot of guys from alarms, like you said, they just transition to solar, but the commission is like 5x overnight.
10x, sometimes 10x, 10x, whatever it's going to be.
There's definitely a lot of money in solar, but the things you're doing is on another level, right? Like you can make money, but to get to the numbers you're doing, those are the numbers everybody's dreaming to get to. So Tyler, I know that you're the one that actually recruited Luke to the team. You've been doing solar for many years. Speaking of experience, you came from alarms background. So talk about your transition from alarms to solar sales trader to chief visionary officer and founder of Fusion. Can you tell us kind of the quick arc of that?
Yeah. So I have been doing alarms for about 8 years and doing summer sales over time, having kids and uprooting your life every 4 months started to become unbalanced for me. And I wanted to create a long-term life for my kids where my kids can go to school in one place and I'm not leaving.
Popping up.
Yeah, it happens to the popular kids. They keep
You
getting
ruined it, bro.
notifications.
Ruined it. Yeah.
Now he's sideways. You're sideways.
Now you're upside down, or you're sideways, my man.
It's a good angle though for you. There you go.
All right, here we go.
No, what happened?
Let's see.
There we go.
I'll hold it. Can you guys see?
Yeah. Perfect.
Of the lifestyle, and I was losing my enthusiasm about alarm systems, and I started thinking I was a crappy sales rep because in the beginning I could sell like crazy, and then towards the end of my career, normally you want to get better and better. And my vision, my love, and my passion for the product that I was selling was starting to die, and I thought I had lost it. And some of my friends were talking about opening a new market in New York for Vivint Solar, and I'd seen a lot of these top sales guys going over to solar. And so me and one of my friends, we flew out to New York and dabbled in what it was like to do solar, and my passion reignited. And I realized that I was a phenomenal sales rep, but I was investing myself in an area that I no longer had that passion, that drive for. And so as I learned solar, it was more about teaching people how to keep money in their own pocket and how to get away from these unpredictable utility rates. And the passion grew because I was helping people better their life and keep money in their pocket versus throwing it away and just burning it and getting into their own power plant and ownership. And so I got really good at that. And not only did I really enjoy selling, but one of the passions I learned I had early on was I loved teaching and I loved helping other people. And I had this ability to articulate the psychology of sales. I could help people understand like the mechanisms that were going on. And I was naturally helping people in the office. I wasn't the manager, but I was just like the sales guy. And after a year of selling, I said, I want to get back into leadership and back into management like I was at Vivint. And I got recruited to come to Arizona to work for a company called Legacy Power, selling Sunrun. It was a phenomenal product. Moved here to help manage a sales team. And within the year, we were one of the top sales companies across the nation, lowest cancellation rate. I had the highest appointment sit to close ratio, and like my passion was reignited. I was growing, recruiting, training, and at that point, it was about 10 years that I had been doing the door-to-door space, 10 to 11 years. And I thought, I want the next challenge. I want to be able to be more responsible for more of the value, more of the decisions that are being made around the company. And I decided I wanted to build a business. And so at that point, I had understood how the sales dealer model worked. And I went and created a relationship with Titan Solar Power and opened up our own sales org called Fusion Power, and just followed the same model. And from there, started recruiting, building training. Was fortunate to run into Luke Ward and partner with some really, really strong, talented people. And we just started having a ton of fun and really helping a bunch of people. And the mantra wasn't about going out and getting sales, but it was about helping people. And I think that mission really ignited the drive and the passion for what we were doing. And so we took it to that point. After about 4 years, we decided to control the entire end-to-end process and get into the install space. We felt like the ability to have a little bit more control with our customer and further touches down the road meant we needed to in-house that process. And so we did that, and we've really finessed the entire process from beginning to end to where someone like Luke Ward can go out and throw down, and he's not spending his weekends trying to figure out where his accounts are at. And he puts them on the Fusion Grid to get installed. But ultimately, what I'm most proud of is we have the highest Google rating in Arizona for our customers. We've got over 1,000 Google reviews, and our customers are happy with the product. And we hope they continue to come back to us for further products that we'll be able to provide down the road, which we're starting to roll out now. So all of that has just been a very fulfilling, very blessed journey. And, I credit a lot to the mentors that I've surrounded myself with. And, like being on this today with you guys, just being connected with other good people, doing things the right way has been a path to, greener pastures in my life. And I highly value just being connected with other people doing things in a big way.
One of the things I love about you, Tyler, is that you are a natural introvert and you highly excel at sales. And a lot of people think that that's not possible. And can you just talk on that? How you can become a top salesperson even though you may be naturally introverted and it may not be the most conversationalist person in the world.
Yeah. So I learned there's the one in the middle, Joe, called an omnivert. Have you ever heard of an omnivert?
Yeah.
So I feel like I'm an omnivert in a social situation. I can go be really outgoing, but then I go home and I crash. I'm like, all right, that was a lot. And but what I feel like my strength is listening. I can go into a conversation. I can listen really well, and I can hear what the other person is saying, and I can be really attentive to what they're feeling and thinking, and I can respond to that. And so I learned early on that a good salesman is someone that knows how to ask the right questions and knows how to serve the customer and understand what their needs are. And I got really good at understanding what people's needs were and how to serve them. And that translated into me being a teacher / people were trusting me on the doors. I was listening to them, and I was able to say the things that they needed to hear to help them understand the value that I was offering. And because I feel like I became a really good listener, that for me was somewhat of a superpower to help launch me into what I've been able to create in my life.
I love that
So
answer.
I'm big time on question-based selling is like my forte.
Yeah, 100%. That's what my excuse for my big ears. I'm like, I listen really well though, so at least I got that part down.
Yeah.
You guys are just breaking records as a company and as an individual, Luke. Like, what are obviously you're a grinder. That to me sticks out like just number one. I guess you're just a grinder. You're out there. You're just hustling. You're not taking breaks. You're pushing yourself to the limit. But is that it? Is it you're just a grinder, or is there I don't say tricks, but like things you're doing that's helping you get more closes, to get more appointments, to get, more sets? Like, what are some things you're doing that be able to break these records that you make it look so easy?
Well, I appreciate that. Thanks for saying I'm a grinder. Sometimes the name of my division is called True Grit. So I think that grit for me is like not just a month worth of hard work, not just a year worth of hard work, but sustained hard work over the long haul. And I really pride myself on just working really hard, right? It's an attitude of gratitude that I have. And the other thing is the urgency about capitalizing on this market space. But also it's developing systems and processes, and working with Fusion Power, just kind of give they support me. So like, for example, you can't sell 300, 400 accounts a year and not have back office support. I can't take these guys phone calls, and I let the customer know this. So we've designed a system that has an account management team. I close the customer, and then I never have to talk to them again, because I can support. But also, the one thing with this industry, and anybody that's out there selling, is you fail forward, right? You fail forward. We get paid to learn. We get paid to fail. And we learn from our mistakes. Mistakes and failures are the greatest teacher in life. It's not the successes. Successes don't teach us very much. It's failing forward. And ultimately, coming onto this industry and not knowing anything, not knowing how to design anything, I had to figure all this stuff out myself. I failed forward, and I plowed through doors, and I backed it up with hard work, persistence, determination, and commitment, which really are the key ingredient to anybody being successful. And this insatiable desire, this obsessiveness to be great, right? But I bombed. I remember early on just plowing through door after door after door and refining my approach, refining what would make me successful, and then finding a perfect algorithm. The other thing too is you cannot throw down like this without a substantial amount of team, and building a good team around you. If you're doing the setter closer model, you have to have really good setters with you. You have to be in front of a lot of people to be able to close that many deals. You're not going to do that singly. Can you be a lone wolf and sell 120? Absolutely. Will you sell 300, 400? I don't know if that's possible. I haven't seen it done. I don't know a model that can do that. So you have to build a team. But here's the other thing too, is I believe that if you have somebody that that's working some stupid job or selling something different, and you do not share this opportunity, you're doing them a disservice, and you're doing yourself a disservice by not helping them and drawing them up. It's a hand up. So the guys that I work with, I'm like, listen, I'm going to show you, I have a blueprint to make $1 million, and I'll show you how to do it. I have a proven blueprint, step by step. You don't have to fail as many times as I had to fail to figure this stuff out. I have a proven, successful blueprint to show you how to do this in solar sales, right? You don't have to be an owner. You can just be a sales rep, and you can make 7 figures, and I have a proven blueprint for it. And along the way, I'm not just keeping these guys as setters. What often you see in this industry is guys just want to hold people down so they have enough appointments. I believe in the law of abundance. And I believe that if I help, I believe in the Zig Ziglar quote, which is you can have everything you want as long as you're willing to help others get what they want. I'm a true believer in that. It's kind of my mission statement. And I believe in helping others, like Tyler was talking about. Solar is a win-win-win. Everybody wins. The customer wins. We win by getting the project. And believe it or not, the utility company wins by the excess energy that's being produced from their solar system, right? It's reducing the stress on the grid. This is one of those relationships where it's such a beautiful thing because, like Tyler had mentioned, it's helping others. And also, it's not just helping the customer base, it's also helping others along the way. I have taken numerous reps through this program. I had a guy that was making $40,000 a year crawling in attics. He was crawling in attics in Arizona. Have you ever been to Arizona? It's like 120, 125. The attic is like 300 degrees. It's an oven. And I took this guy and I convinced him to come work with me. He was making $40,000 a year, and I showed him how to write his own paycheck. He's making $400,000 or $500,000 a year right now. I took another guy, our photographer. He was making $40,000, $50,000 a year. He's doing landscaping before this. He just bought $1 million home. He made $780,000 last year. Right? These are people that typically, and I don't look for someone that has an enthusiastic, outgoing personality. I'm a lot like Tyler. Tyler and I are very much alike, but I look for someone that just has commitment, desire, ambition, right? And discipline. If you have those 4 character traits, I don't care your personality type. I can teach anybody, we can teach anybody how to do this and how to be highly successful at it. The problem is that most people, it's fickle. They're relying on motivation. They're not relying on commitment. You have to have commitment. When you get out of that car door weighs 9,000 pounds. You don't want to get out. I didn't want to get out today. Before this thing, I went and knocked 60 doors, talked to 21 people, set 2 appointments. I did not want to get out of the door, but what did I do? I pulled up the area. I got out of my door. I didn't check Facebook, didn't check Instagram. I got out and I started plowing through doors. I kept track of my numbers, and eventually I had some success, right? One of those 2 are going to sell. So in less than 2 hours, I'm going to make $4,000 or $5,000. It doesn't get better than that. Does it get better than that? 2 hours of the work, $4,000 or $5,000? Does it get better than that? This is an opportunity, and we all need to be, as solar individuals, we need to be sharing this opportunity with all of our friends, anybody that we come in contact with that wants this incredible, amazing opportunity to capitalize on a win-win-win market while we can. And so ultimately, my whole success has been not about just single-mindedly, knocking and sitting in front of customers, but has been building people up and carrying people along the way so that hopefully I can get better and I can improve. And the other thing is about teaching others how to do this. It's more ingrained in me. And if I'm teaching someone else, I better learn the process and the understanding of this. And so, I'm always looking for people that I can help. Now, the one thing, I refuse to work with people that won't give me 100%. If you're not going to give me 100%, I won't work with you. I value myself and I value my time. I'm not going to work with people like that. But if you have commitment and discipline and ambition, you're the perfect ingredient for a process and a system that I have that can teach you how to make 7 figures. Every year, for the last 3 years, I've been making 7 figures, 7 figures, 7 figures, 7 figures. You know what I'm saying? So this is an incredible opportunity. And here's the other thing. I'm not special or unique. I have grit. I work hard. I plow through doors, but I am not special and unique. Anybody can do this. If you're making less than $500,000 a year, you're doing yourself a disservice. You're not giving it your all. You're not living up to your true potential, right? These are the bottom line. You know what I'm saying? And so my success has really become from just my determination and failing forward. I always talk about failing forward. We get paid to fail. If we lose a door, I was talking to Tyler the other day. I was like, dude, what should I do? He's like, you should go out and record yourself and then critique yourself and figure out what you did right, what you did wrong. There's no better way to do that. I already do mirror work where I practice in front of the mirror and I talk to myself. But ultimately, now we have video. We have technology to help us propel us forward. And we can figure out what we're doing wrong, what we're doing right, and we can actually improve and make micro improvements, which lead to greater success as the future goes on. But, and then the determination, I think for me is like, I was determined. 2020 happened, sold 117 deals from May until January 1st. And I thought that was a really big deal. And everything's relative. So I was relative to my company. But once you become that high level, you got to seek nationwide, seek worldwide out. Who's the best in the nation? Who's the best in the world? And then what you do is you look at them, and rather than comparing yourself, because that's the thief of joy, they're setting the bar to what's possible.
Yep.
If they can do it, I can do it. If they could do it, what did they do? How did they do it? What was their algorithm? How did they do this to be successful? And then just duplicate whatever they did. Walk like them, talk like them, present like them, whatever you do, and then you'll figure out your own path by just duplicating what somebody else has done. And ultimately, that's what it's come down to. I didn't have to reinvent the wheel for solar. Joe, you guys already figured it out. I just duplicated what you guys did, and I just put some hard work and some elbow grease into it, and I had some level of success. But ultimately, solar has given me a life beyond my wildest dreams. I thought alarms were a life beyond my wildest dreams. It gets, monotonous, and you don't really like it after a while. Not everybody's a good fit for alarms, but let me just tell you this. Everybody is a good fit for solar. There's not a single person out there that's not a good fit for solar. You're not saving money, doesn't matter. You have a predictable bill. Your bill's going to be a lot higher, doesn't matter. You're going to have quality of life. You're going to have, peace of mind. You're going to own your own personal power plant. And so everybody's a good candidate for solar. And I personally think everybody should go solar. That's my personal opinion. When I go into a house, I just believe that everybody should do it. I have 2 houses that have solar on them. I save thousands of dollars and have a better quality of life as a result of it. So, kind of a tangent, bro. Sorry to go off on a tangent, but I get real passionate about some of these things. Appreciate it.
No, I got a lot out of that. And one of the things I got, to help you break records is knowing how to recruit and retrain and do it consistently. And I know Tyler is a master of that. I 100% think recruiting is one of the best lead sources any company can get. You're just bringing in new people. They're going to bring in leads. You can close them. Like, that's an unbelievable way. And I think that's a huge tip. So Tyler, can you give some tips on that? Like, how do you do it so well? How do you find the right people? How do you get them attracted to you? How do you interview them? Or you just get hiring a lot and firing fast? Like, what's your best way of recruiting the best talent out there? And go ahead.
Yeah, well, I think one is you got to make yourself attractive in the marketplace. So one is be someone in the marketplace that people know, respect, and are attracted to. There's a lot of guys having bad experiences out there, and it's unfortunate, and I feel for them, and they end up in our office talking to us about their past and their experience. And so one is just be someone and something that people can look to and hold to. I mean, people want to have Luke Ward's track record and his sales. So, work hard to be that thing that you can offer value to. You can't offer value when you yourself aren't creating value in your own life. So work really hard to put yourself in a place to give a lot of values to other, which means you got to be successful in some realm in your own sphere, whatever that is. So for us, it's our company. It's being an installer in Arizona and offering a really good experience. The number one thing guys care about here is a smooth install process and a customer that's going to turn around and give them referrals. So we provide all of that. So when a guy comes in and sits down though with me, from a recruiting standpoint or a recruiting technique, is I don't go right into red lines. I don't go right into telling them everything that's awesome about us. Is I mine that dude for everything that he's got inside of him, and I just go into questions. And I'm like, hey man, tell me about yourself. Tell me about your past. What have what's been good about your past experience? What led you here today? What are you hoping to get out of your next installer? What are you hoping to get out of your next? Tell me about your sales culture, your sales leader. What are you looking for in the future? What do you think it's going to take you to get there? What does your future goals look like? What do you think it's going to help to make that possible? What have you done for your personal work on yourself and your belief, like where you're at in your life? And then I ask him about his core values, like what is it that you really value? What is it you care about? And how do you see yourself aligning with a company like us? What would we have to look like to align with someone like you? And that conversation becomes all about them. And it's not about me, and it's not about my company that I've created. It's like, who are you, and tell me what aligns for you. And as soon as they're in that conversation with me about everything that's them, we'll find out if there's a bridge. And we might say, hey, you know what? All those things sound great, but I don't think this is the fit for you here. Or we might say, hey, you know what? I personally really align with a lot of the things that you shared. I want to share some of those things that are huge alignment points for me that just really resonated when you were talking about that. I could see you light up when you were talking about that. I want to share how we've built our company here and why I think we're going to align here in this way, and this is what we do. And then they're like, oh man, that's amazing. This and that and that. And at the end, it's just a question to say, hey, this is what we are based on who you see us as a company and organization. How do you see yourself aligning with us? And how do you feel like you can contribute to this environment on what we're creating here? And I let them walk across the bridge to our side instead of saying like, hey man, I'd really love to have you. We'll get you started with a $5,000 sign-on bonus. Like, we don't do that. We don't have those conversations. And I say, here's where we've created value in our space, and here's the experience that others are having with the value that we've created. How can you come and contribute and be a part of that? Because people care more about being a part of a family than they do about being recruited into a business. They don't want to be a business transaction for you. They don't want to be a winning check mark on your recruiting board. It's like, what is this family that I'm about to step into, and what are the core values that they represent, and who am I going to become as a person? And I can't tell you how many people have talked about their recruiting experience coming on board with us that have really highlighted the core value conversations that we've had and what aligned for them, and they became true. Like, these aren't just recruiting, sales tricks to get someone in the door. Like, this is really who we hold ourselves out to be, and how we operate, and they're experiencing that. And then when they actually see that that's for real and we're legit, they go find their friends and their family and other people in the space, and they're like, dude, you guys should check out, this is what this company is all about, Fusion Power. And so for me, I found that to be so powerful. I've had the opportunity to sit into some recruiting meetings where it's all the opposite. And, some of my new guys, this is how they start recruiting. They're like, yo, bro, I don't know what you're doing, but I'm making $50,000 or, 20 grand a month doing this. And then the conversation ends and it doesn't get anywhere. And so I really help guys turn it around, and it's all about them. Where are you at? How can we add value to your life? What do you have going on? And then we ask a bunch of questions, and they walk themselves into the door when you can frame it in the right way, and you hold yourself out to the value that you offer, and you ask them if that aligns, and they say yes. And then you ask them, how can you contribute? And they sign up, and you say, cool, well, let's start building, and let's get that vision turned into reality. And then they love you, and they believe you, and they trust you because you've had a conversation about them and not you. And now everything that you have to offer is authentic and real, because we're not talking about us. We're talking about them, and they appreciate that. Anything to say to that, Luke?
No, that's perfect. So the core values and stuff, you can see it from the organization. So the core values: family first, grit, tenacity, and then adding value. So I think everybody that works for us, those are easy values to line up with, and so we look for those types of people that can align with those values. My number one objective is to add value to people's lives, make impact. I think we do that every day. Any solar individual out there that's out there selling solar is making massive impact and adding value to people's lives. Every single person that we're doing that. So from the top down, we want people that are going to align with the organization and be able to buy into some of these things. And we don't want the people that are chasing red lines. People that are chasing. You want a good company that can really have support you and be able to give you all the back office support and get you the fastest one to install. I think that people typically look for that. We don't look for the people that are going to be like, those people are always looking, chasing red lines. Chances are, if they're chasing red lines, they're going to be chasing another company, because somebody else is always going to offer more money. I think that the key to this thing is finding a good company that works for you, that aligns with your values, and that also can give you all of the back office support and and you can have confidence that they're going to get it to install in a timely, fast manner, and then stay put. Go through the trenches. Don't jump around, don't skip around. I've never skipped around throughout my entire career. The only reason I opened up an alarm company was because the other alarm company I was working for merged into a protection one, and I didn't want to work for those guys. So I opened up my own company, right? And so some of these things hold true. If you just plop down, you stay in the trenches, you continue to put one foot in front of the other, and you put your nose to the grindstone, eventually something pops through. You have to be aligned with the good company. You have to be aligned with a company that lines up with your values, and someone that can give you the back office support and speed to install. But all of those things run true. You can see it from top down, from the organization, all the way from the sales rep to the CEOs to the installers. Everybody aligns with these values. They're very easy to line up with. I mean, family first. I mean, who doesn't want to do that? Add value. Who doesn't want to do that? Tenacious grit. Who doesn't want to do that? I mean, these things are three key ingredients to success.
And if anyone that's watching who's either about to start building a team and has never done it before, maybe joining a team, like what these guys just said, one of the number one red flags, if not the number one red flag, is either the recruiter or the sales rep that's in the interview. Red line is one of the first to come up. It's just run away, just stop. It's like a pretty much blanket statement that if red line is the first thing that comes up, just get out of here. But I wonder, so, I always think about like how a hardcore sales guy interprets what we say. And I know that the hardcore sales guys will hear the words core values and aligning with the business, and they'll just sort of flag it off as just, oh, that's just fairy dust, whatever. Could either of you go into like the insights as to, okay, what does it look like if you don't go down that route and just bring everybody on? Because every single time I've ever built a team, if I'm ever recruiting or if I've taught someone how to do interviews, the interview process, if a closer wants to come in from outside, like that is an intense process. You are breaking each other down. You're making sure that you fit. Because if you don't, there are some bad things that can happen to your company culture. What have you guys experienced in the past when you didn't have enough filters, when you got a random guy in there that's, oh, he talked the talk, but something was off. You let him in, you gave him a chance, but it sort of exploded on you. Have you guys had experiences like that before?
I'll say two of these things. So something from a sales manager's point of view. So we had a guy that was a top performer, probably top 20% of the nation. This guy threw down. He was good at what he did, but he was lying and cheating and stealing and ripping people off, and none of his values lined up. And so I've owned an alarm company before, and we talk about just including everybody. I would take anybody in there. Terrible culture. You guys got smoking weed, doing drugs, doing meth, all sorts of crazy stuff. You got criminals working for you that are in active criminality, right? And I was just willing to take all that stuff on. But what I see with Fusion is if you don't line up with the values, first of all, you don't feel comfortable, right? You're not going to feel comfortable. So a lot of times you're going to leave anyways. But I watched Fusion Power take the number 2 guy in our company, the guy that consistently produced deals. And because he wasn't lining up with their values, they let him go. They fired him. Probably the most respectable thing I've ever done. I can't tell you. I don't know if I would do it. To be honest with you, I don't know if I would do it. I'm like, dude, this guy needs me a lot of money. Maybe he just, I'll tell him not to lie and cheat still. But I watched these guys take this guy in and they let him go. And that was a big part of the business. I mean, this guy was 150 plus deals every single year. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of business. And to be able to take that and to be able to let that guy go was absolutely phenomenal. And I had a lot of respect and I kind of understood like where they're coming from. The other thing is too, is be the needed, not the needy. People, he mentioned something about attracting these people. I firmly believe that if I'm going to be a better person, if I want to attract better people in my life, who am I as an individual? If I want to attract somebody with amazing qualities, do I exhibit those qualities? Do I want those qualities? How am I going to attract somebody with those qualities if I don't exhibit those myself? And so from Fusion Power, you see it from the top down that everybody that works in this organization exhibits these core values. And they live these core values out and not accepting anything that comes in through the door. It's just like me. I refuse to work with people that won't give me 100%. And I've learned hard-fought won experience by taking people, investing in them, and them not giving me 100%. If I'm going to give you 100%, you better be giving me 100%, right? And not be willing to waste my time and my energy. And the other thing is I've let a guy on that begged me to come work with me, dude. He begged me. I like this guy. I love this guy. When I first met him, I got this guy's awesome. And I had realized the red flag was that this guy had been with like 6 companies in less than 18 months. Huge red flag. Anybody out there recruiting, if you have a guy that comes to you and has been with 6 companies in 18 months, don't hire him. So I hired this guy and I was real excited about him. He had this amazing charisma. He was enthusiastic. He was grateful. And then you saw like him going up and then you saw the downward spiral. He worked with us about 8 months, but on his way out, he took 3 of my reps. He literally took 3 of my reps. I liken it to a venereal disease, and excuse my my language, but I liken it to if you let a sickness in, right, it will infect everything. So being very cautious about your culture and about who you're going to let into your organization, because if you are not cautious and you let anything in, it will be like a venereal disease and it will affect every single part of the organization. And so being very clear about our core values and what we expect and the types of people that we want to attract in the organization is very, very important. And I think Tyler and Jared and Trey are always making sure that they're going to accept only the people that align with their values, and that won't be some sort of a disease that will affect the entire organization. And you can see this with every organization. I have personal experience with creating cultures with my alarm company and hiring whoever comes into the block, hiring a bunch of people off of Craigslist that were just terrible for the organization. I mean, terrible, time and time and time again. And so one of the things I respect is that Fusion Power actually holds standards, and they're not going to just work with everybody. We're not going to throw shit to a wall and hope that it sticks, but we're going to make sure that we're attracting those right types of people.
What's going on, guys? Let's take a quick break from that podcast and let you know a bit about what we got going on for you here right now at the Solar Pulse podcast. Joe, what do you got for us?
SolarCon is right around the corner and it's going to be epic, especially with the headliners we have like Gary Vee, Jeremy Miner, Andy Elliott, David Meltzer, and we have over 150 trainer speakers hitting every genre of the solar industry. And our expo floor is going to be epic. We're going to have lounges, bars, the pianist to the presidents, and activities. It's going to be the most conversations you've had in any event of the year. And then on top of that, this is going to be the best after parties too. So you guys do not want to miss it. April 18th, 19th, and 20th in Salt Lake City. Go to the website, attendsolarcon.com. Use the code VIRTUALSOLAR, and that'll get you an extra 10% on top of the already discounted on the website itself. So if you guys don't know, now you know. Make sure you get there.
Love it. And of course, for all of your remote solar sales needs, Virtual Solar Club, the home of all things remote solar sales, virtualsolar.club. We got training, we got leads, we got installation infrastructure, community support systems, live training 3 times a week, 500 hours of courses, the largest solar sales training library in existence. Virtual Solar Club is the home of all things remote solar sales. Check it out. And of course, you get free trials to Sonevo, the best solar sales software in the world. Gets you lead programs, additional training on how to sell those leads from your computer, whether that's from a beach in Mexico or maybe from your home office. We're here to support you. We're ready to rock. Let's get back to the pod.
I was
In
going
the
to say,
meantime, while he's
especially be able to recruit and do all this in Arizona. Like I know Arizona is not one of the easiest markets, but it produces some of the top players in the game right in Arizona. So can you
Yeah.
talk about how like hard that market is and the different utilities and how you are able to overcome it and still have record-breaking numbers?
Yeah, I've mastered. I've not only survived, but I think I've thrived in maybe one of the most challenging markets in the United States. It's the SRP, and I'll let you know how it works here. So they have a rate plan. When you go solar, they put you on a particular rate plan, and they start buying your energy back for 3 and 4 cents a kilowatt, right? And so we figured out an algorithm on how to design a hybrid. So you're using solar energy during the day. You're trying not to give a lot of the energy back to the utility company during the day because you take a loss, and then you use the cheaper energy at night with a demand plan. And so you got to have an energy management system which will mitigate the demand. For high energy users, this is probably the greatest solar plan ever. I live in a 3,500 square foot house. I keep my house at 72. Most people in Arizona are keeping it at 80 degrees. I have an electric car. I cool my garage. I have a garage with a boat in it. I keep it 72 degrees. My bill would have been $900 in the month of July. Instead, it was $200 plus my solar bill, $153. But let me just tell you, I saved $600 one month alone by you leveraging and using my energy and the utility company's energy. But now, let me just tell you how this translates into a presentation. It complicates the shit out of things because you're explaining you have your solar bill, then you have your utility bill, and then there's a demand plan. It's very complex and challenging. And if they're a low energy user, if they're under $200, they're not going to save any money. It's an impossibility. So what you have to do is you have to pivot and change and no longer sell on savings, but sell on value.
Yes.
And so one of the things I've mastered isn't just selling exclusively on savings. My entire presentation, whether I'm at the door or whether I'm in the home, is selling on value. Well, what value is there here in Arizona? Well, number one value is quality life. How would you like to be able to put your what are you keeping the thermostat right now? 80 degrees. How would you like to put it at 72? How would you feel?
Mm-hmm.
Would that make your life better? Would that improve? Now you got to remember your cost per kilowatt hour come from the utility companies at 1/4 of your energy cost. Would that improve your life? Some of the other things that you're selling on is owning their own personal power plant. This is language that I use. I don't talk about solar system. I talk about them owning their own personal power plant. It gives them an idea or it transcribes something in their head that's much more powerful than a solar system. You own your own personal power plant. I want to get those words. I want to get those words in them. And then also about predictability of a solar bill. Their SRP bill will still continue to increase, but their solar bill is flat and predictable. And so we talk about some of the price hikes and some, in 8 years, SRP is going to double their rates. So 8 years alone, their rates will double. If you're a $200 bill, you'll be $400. And so learning to change and pivot and be able to sell on value versus savings will allow me to sell anywhere in the nation. You send me out to a net metering utility, I will destroy it.
True. Yes.
I should sell 500
So
accounts a
true.
year. When I watch people in Florida, and I'm like, how many deals you sell this week? Like 2. I'm like, what is wrong with you? You got to pivot and you got to transfer what's happening across the nation to that specific utility company. And we talked about this in the beginning about the evolution and the changing of solar, right? Solar is arguably the most disruptive technology there is in the United States. And so talking about that with customers is very important. They don't know this. They don't know about changing utility rates. They see it go up, but they have no clue. We're the experts. And so we leverage other stories that have happened across the nation. The thing, net metering 3.0, which happened in California, probably the greatest thing ever. In the biggest green state in the country, what they did to solar companies is absolutely absurd. And telling customers about this, they know California is the biggest green state, but telling them, hey, this is just the start. this is the biggest green state in the country that did this. Just imagine what's going to happen here. You can leverage that story anywhere across the United States. You could be in Florida talking about what's happening in California. You could be in Florida talking about what happened in North and South Carolina. You could leverage that story and be able to ingrain the values with your client without just giving them, regurgitating them information. Nobody remembers that shit anyways. They do remember stories, and they remember how they felt with the story. Stories are very powerful, and probably the most powerful part of my process in presentation. Whether I'm on the doors or I'm in the home, I'm always leveraging and using stories, man. It is incredibly powerful.
I've said it a million times on this podcast, but I think it's always worthwhile repeating. So, Luke, in the Australian market, net metering died in 2012, 2013. I came in a year or two after that. I never sold solar with one-to-one. It's roughly around what the rates are in California right now. Never sold a single deal where a customer was saving from day one. It was an ROI over time. And so the value selling was just ingrained into us from day one. But the American sales guys are obsessed with selling on savings. And the line I always like to remind people is customers do not need to sell a penny with solar for them to see extreme value in it.
Right.
Now, the cool thing about the US market is there's so many markets where they will save from day one. But if you really want to have longevity in this industry and increase your sales exponentially, like a day, realize that you're only selling 40, 50% of your the value of your product right now. Whereas all that independence, the stuff that the guy in California now, in Arizona, in some of these states where they've never really had any one-to-one net metering, they understand that. But the rest of the sales population is like, oh, the customer's not saving from day one. I don't think it's valuable for them. And then it comes off in their script and, oh, look, they have a 10% close rate. No wonder, right? But it's difficult for everyone to realize that because they've always been able to go, okay, here's $200 off your power bill from day one. And that's all they see the value.
Yeah, very well said. Here's the other thing. If you can improve your skill set to be able to sell not on savings, but on value, you can sell anywhere. And so I feel blessed to be in Arizona. First of all, we're the sunniest state in the country. There's 327 days of sun a year. I don't care if you don't save shit. I don't care if this costs you $100 a month. Everybody should go solar. You own your own personal power plant, right? This is even after they get rid of net metering, and you can see this trend happening in APS right now. It doesn't matter. That stuff is irrelevant. And I'll tell you what, once you learn to sell on value proposition, which is not savings, but is predictability, quality of life, and owning your own personal power plant, dude, you can sell anywhere, you can do anything. And adhering to those principles. So I always like this is in alarms, I always did blitz trips. So we'd find these little towns that weren't saturated, that had never heard the pitch before. And we would go in there and we'd blow it out of the water. I was top 1% in alarm sales. But the thing is that you would go to these very easy communities and then you would come into a hard market and you'd get your ass kicked. You know why? Got lazy, right? Got lazy. You didn't have to skill up. And so don't wish it was easier. Wish for better skills. Jim Rohn talks about this a lot. Wish that you skilled up. Wish that you were in an area where it wouldn't matter what the utility company's doing. You can't be affected by this because that's the uncontrollable. If you can control the controllables, which is improving your skill set, you can sell anywhere, you can sell anything, and you can do whatever you want, and you can write your own paycheck. And I feel blessed to be an SRP because it's a challenging market. In fact, I see people come here and misdesign systems and do people disservices. But when you figure it out and you figure out the value proposition and you're able to display that and communicate that effectively with customers, puts a lot more money in my pocket. And I also feel confident that I could sell in any utility across the nation. Any utility, put me in any utility, drop me anywhere, give me no money, and watch me flourish. Doesn't matter if they have net metering. Doesn't matter if there's no savings. Doesn't matter if it costs them $50 or $100 a month. I will figure it out and I will blow it out of the water wherever I am. And I appreciate just having to cut my teeth on the challenging market. And so one of the other things that we offer guys to come work with us is like, hey, you're going to make a lot of money, but we're going to give you a skill set that will allow you to write your own paycheck. What's that worth to you? Is it worth putting 6-7 hours a day on the doors? To me, it was. Ultimately, it comes down to you. Would that be worth it to you? Would that be worth it to have a skill set and characteristics that would be conducive to you be successful in any organization doing anything that you want? I mean, ultimately, that's what it comes down to. And so people always complain about the Arizona market is saturated, which it might be. There's no savings. It's challenging. You can't charge high EPCs, blah, 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 blah. Listen, people do really well out here. We have there's 387 solar companies out here that wouldn't be here unless there was money involved, right? People are figuring it out. and then find somebody that's crushing it and be like, what are they doing?
Yep.
What are they doing to be so highly successful? They've set the bar for what's possible. And if I'm not selling shit because my proposal, my presentation sucks, I just got to duplicate what they do to be successful. I'm a firm believer in that. I've never reinvented the wheel. I don't come up with new information. I just compile information and I put it in an easy to follow blueprint. And I follow step by step of what I do in setting the appointment and then closing the appointment in the home. My closing ratio is 73%, right? Across the board. Throughout the entire time, my closing ratio has been 73%. This is when I first started 2020. The buyback rate with APS was 12.5 cents a kilowatt. It's 7.3% right now. I closed 2 APS deals last week, right? I'm not concerned with what the utility companies are doing. And I'll go back to control the controllables. That's all we can do. We don't have any pull with the utility companies. We can't make them do anything. They're going to do what they're going to do regardless of whatever we do.
Anybody watching this who's selling in one-to-one net metering right now, but wants to practice to be able to sell outside of that, but doesn't want to like go just to another market with lower net metering, really simple way to do this. When you pitch, don't go in on the front end with savings. Go in on the front end to book the appointment and even into the close with independence, with freedom from the utility company, owning your own, all this additional stuff to get the appointment and set up the close. And even throughout the remainder of the close, go through that and sell it off of that. The customers get in their head. They're going to be thinking, okay, so this guy's going to bill match, or he's going to try to give me like more, like it's going to be a bit more, and try to get them to say yes just off of the independence, then go in with the numbers after. Because then at least you're not losing deals because you're still going into the savings after, but you're getting used to being able to convince people to book an appointment and sit down with you and take it seriously, not off of savings. And now you do that over, number one, it's going to increase your sales from day one already because now you're throwing on more value. And number two, when your market or you go to another market that the net metering gets killed, you at least have 75, 80% of the process already figured out. You've pitched them times. You got it. If you want longevity in this industry whatsoever, you have to be able to sell this way. Or you're just
good strategy, dude. That's a genius strategy. Yeah, if you can do that and you can set the appointment. So often, I think it's like going to those easy alarm areas, those small towns. We get lazy and we kind of forget we just sell exclusively on savings. And the other thing too is if you're selling on savings, there's always going to be a company that's going to come in there. Maybe you have a permit poacher. It's going to give them better savings, right? They're going to be like, oh, we'll give you a cheaper price. But if you can really sell on value and make your presentation memorable or the appointment memorable with the client, they're never going to leave you. I mean, you just got to be good at what you do and you can improve. I mean, there's tons of training stuff out there. There's videos, there's programs you can buy, there's training program after training program to improve their skill set.
I think I heard Jake, was it Jake Hess that said, I want to be able to sell my customers so hard on the value that I can install a sign above their door outside their house that said, I just bought solar and I'm about to install it, so that all the solar sales guys flock to it, but he sold it so well that they can't get the deal and steal the job. That's the extreme of it. Get a fluorescent sign that says, try to steal the sale. I dare you.
Yeah.
You know, speaking of solar sales training, that's one of the things. You're going to work in the Arizona market. You're going to need to be trained up, right? And you're that guy to train them. How do you balance your time? To me, it's just like, it's insane to be able to be a record breaker, but also be able to have time to recruit, to train, to give the guys the time. You know, like that's part of it. If they have a question, you have to be able to answer it. And like, talk about that. How do you balance both being a top performer and trainer?
That's a great question. I don't. My balance is out. I don't believe there's ever a balance. Like, listen, in 2022, I sold 378 solar deals. Right.
That's what I'm saying.
I didn't have time for shit. I didn't have time for shit. I didn't have time to train my team. I didn't have time to door knock with anybody. And so last year, I was like, I'm not going to hit that goal. I'm going to sell 250, 260. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take time and quality time with my team and building them up. So part of this is taking people with you, right? Taking people with you. Always be taking people with you. If you're inside of a presentation, you should have someone with you. If you're knocking doors, you should have someone with you at all times, no matter what. Don't waste that valuable time that you're working to not take somebody with you. If you can take somebody with you, and they can watch you in the house and observe you and watch what you do, watch your mannerisms, watch your presentation, just observe. They're going to be just as good as you. They just have to duplicate what you did, and they're going to have that same level of success. But what I do is I do a training program. I do training with my guys twice a week. We keep in contact. We're on a group meet. But ultimately, what it comes down to is the door knocking. Like the 2022, I didn't do a whole lot of door knocking. I was in homes most of the time. And so realizing and understanding that, and then taking some space out of my day so that now I'm concentrating on building guys up door knocking. It starts with the lead generation, right? Lead generation and closing, they're both valuable. They're both just the same value, right? Lead generation, sometimes people like, oh, that's hard. So's in homes. They're both just as difficult as hard. Master both, and you can train them both. And so I'm constantly taking guys out. I'm setting appointments with them, and I'm always in homes. I have somebody in my home 90% of the time. If I go to an appointment, somebody's in there with me. And so showing them the magic, showing them behind like what I'm doing, how I'm phrasing things, the story, what I'm doing, the leveraging, the hitting on all of the benefits. And then on the doors, being able to train these guys and show them how to do it is very, very important as well. Like I have trainers that can train people how to knock doors, but they're not as good as me. They're not as good. So if I have somebody go and train from somebody that's not as good, they won't have the skill set that I can show them. And so making a very clear point that I'm going to have to train with these guys eventually. I want them to record it. I want them to memorize the script and stuff, so those will be just as good as me. But as far as the recruiting, dude, like, to be honest with you, man, selling lights out like this, it's a challenge. So I think last year I recruited 7 guys, had a couple guys given to me. But ultimately, it comes down to that balance. Do I want to be a number one sales guy, or do I want to have this massive team? Do I want to be training 2 or 3 people, or do I want to have 50 people? If all I did was concentrate on building up teams and building guys up, you're going to have a team of 150 people, right? But I love selling. I love being in the trenches. I love knocking doors. I love doing these things. It's very important to me that I'm doing those things, and I'm not dividing myself against recruiting and training and building revenue like that. And so having some sort of a balance, I'm totally out of balance all the time. And then I have a family, dude. You know, I have a family. They make sacrifices as well. Part of this is them making sacrifices and me taking a Sunday off to spend with my family and spend good quality time with them when I can. But the other thing too is like being busy like this, it makes me spend more quality time with my family. If I have a finite amount of time, I'm not going to be, messing off on that super quality time that I have. Instead, I'm going to be spending time doing things with my kids and my wife and spending time doing these things. The other thing, my wife, she's a door knocker. We were out knocking doors earlier today. So that always works out. Door knocker, man, you'll be happy. I promise you, because you'll spend quality time. You get to see each other a lot more often. And
That's
we can't
your
all
trick.
door knockers.
There you go. That's your trick. Now I get it.
Yeah, she's amazing. She's incredible, man. So, it's part of that equation and stuff is having somebody that supports you in what you're doing and sees the vision and sees the time frame and what you're trying to do in life as well.
With recruiting, when you especially got new guys, whether they're lead gen, appointment setters, or closers, I've always aimed for when I'm building internal teams, you got to hit what I call the starry-eyed moment as soon as possible. And what that is they see whether you or someone else do the thing that you say is possible to earn money. So right. Whether that's book an appointment at the doors, book a cold call appointment, close a deal in-home, close a deal virtual, whatever it is that they've never really seen before. Maybe they even come from another industry, never seen a solar sale before or a solar appointment come before. Get them to the point where they see that first one. Because a lot of people, myself included, if I see one person do it just once, I know I can replicate it and potentially even do it better. If they never see that happen, So I mean, like getting the guys in home with you is the quickest way to do it. I can't count how many times. The reason I call it starry-eyed moment is I get a guy, I'm calling with him, I'm closing with him, whatever it is, and he sees the full process. And the beginning of the sales interaction was like, okay. At the end of it, he's like, "Oh, the fuck did you do that?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, it's made $5,000." And then boom, the flame goes off in their mind. They're like, "Okay, let's fucking go."
Yeah, 100%. I wholeheartly agree. It's really important for them to see the magic and see the successes. But one of the things that I used to do, sometimes I go out and knock doors, I'll knock 10 doors and I'll set 6 appointments, having them see your resolve after failure as well. Right? Really important to see the magic. But how am I going to recover myself after I got the door slammed in my face? How am I going to react? What am I going to do? Brush it off and go to the next door and don't miss a beat. Really important to see how that reaction is. Last year at this time, I was training this kid. I recruited this kid he was at a stand. He was selling Children Cancer Network. I signed up for it. I liked this kid. He was from pest control. I recruited him. I took him out. I showed him the magic, and then he wasn't having success. And then we went out one day on a Saturday, and I got my ass kicked all day. Like the type of day you want to jump off a cliff at the end, right? You're like, oh, dude, I hate this job. What am I doing? like that type of a day. And what happened is when he saw me get my ass kicked rather than having success after success, it gave him like knowing that he didn't have to get down on himself, because so often guys will be like, oh dude, well, he's so good, and they like start comparing themselves, right? And they're like, he's so good, he's improving, blah blah blah, and they start getting this story in their head. They start doing the self-talk, which says that why am I getting my ass kicked and he isn't? And so seeing me get my ass kicked, which is incredibly embarrassing, I hate doing that, right? But it was really good for him. His sales jumped up the next week. He started improving, and he watched how I failed, right? He watched me failing an entire day, like 7 hours on the doors, and his sales improved. He'd also seen me already do a ton of deals. He'd sat in on a lot of deals. He'd watched me close a lot of appointments. And so watching the magic on what I do after I fail and how I got myself up and I dusted myself off and I went right back to work and not giving up.
Imagine if you had a new recruit and they saw you get your door slammed in your face or like hung up on a call, and then you just went, oh man, like immediately into their psyche, they're going to be like, they're going to do the same shit. Yeah.
Or you ask yourself this question, why am I doing this? Some stupid question. Where are you going to get many answers? Why are you doing this? Yeah, you're dumb. You shouldn't do this. Yeah, you're doing this because you're an idiot. Like all of this, I call it K-funk, K-shit radio, right? That just blares, starts going off on us. But like, yeah, you'll get all of these answers. I was just doing this training today. I was like, the quality of your questions will determine the quality of your life. Like when you're on the doors and you're getting your face kicked in, ask yourself better questions. How can I improve? How can I find my ideal customer? Where's my ideal customer at? How can I find him? How can I overcome that objection? Rather than saying, why am I doing this? This sucks. All this bullshit that goes on through our head, door to door or appointment to appointment, because that's the stuff that happens. That's default. And so I have to put consciousness in what my brain's what's going on in my brain. It's how I'm showing up at the door. I got my ass kicked today. Some dude slammed the door. I said, go away. And he slammed the door. And the next one, the lady was super rude and she's getting all anxiety and shit. And then I was like, yeah, ain't nothing. And the next door, I set an appointment, right? Didn't bother me a bit. But early on, guys will internalize that shit. And then they start listening in their head, or they start listening to their parent that said, what? You're going to knock doors? You're doing what? Go get a job down at McDonald's. You make $15. Like the stupid shit that gets inside of our brain. Don't listen to the dream stealers. Listen to someone that's successful, has figured this out, and has a new talk track to input inside of our programming, inside of our brain. And so for me, I'm very big on creating a good foundation. My foundation is going to be discipline, commitment, faith, and then be able to always fill my cup up, because during the day, our cup gets emptied, right? Yeah. We get drained. Even if we're in front of appointments, like if I do 3 or 4 appointments a day, at the end of the day, I am tapped out. And so what am I doing to fill that cup back up? Am I going home and watching TV, binge watching television? Am I zoning out? Or am I going home and I'm reading good books? Am I going home and am I thinking about how to be successful? What am I doing to fill my cup back up? The cup will get empty. What are we doing to fill it back up? Maybe some people's is binge watching television. Maybe that gets you reprieve. It's never worked for me. What am I doing to fill my cup up? I'm a super avid reader. I'm always reading good books. I'm reading Psycho-Cybernetics right now. Absolutely incredible book. At night, instead of reading social media, I'm reading Fyodor Dostoevsky, Crime and Punishment. Absolutely mind-boggling book. It's a crazy translation. And then I'm also reading The Greatest Salesman of the World, Og Mandino. He has a task in there. You read a scroll every 30 days, right? You read it in the morning and then you read it at night out loud. You're supposed to read it in the afternoon. I don't do that shit. I read it in the morning and I read it out loud at night. I've already read this book once. This is my career in door-to-door. I came on door-to-door. My first paycheck was $10,000. I've never looked back. But I literally read that book when I first started. Well, go back to the fundamentals of the basics of what I'm doing to fill up my cup. Habits will create our life, right? It's always going to be based on the habits. It's little things compounded over a period of time that really make our lives. It's what are we doing on a consistent basis? What are we doing every single day? What are the habits and stuff that we're actually implementing? And so for me, it's creating good habits, going through a door, getting my face kicked in, brushing it off, going to the next door, not giving up even when I want to give up. And a lot of times I want to give up. I don't even want to get out of the door most of the time. Right? I don't want to go to those appointments. I'm like, oh, here we go, an Indian. Oh, I'm going to an Indian's house. Talking shit, right? Talking shit. Going to a Suji Kumananchi Nani or whatever, dude. Going up there, showing those appointments. How am I showing up at that appointment? Am I with the belief that this guy isn't going to buy? Or am I the belief that this guy is going to buy? And by the way, my closing rate with Indians is 36%. This is a high ratio. Your numbers. The line that I use with these guys is very effective and it works.
Yeah. And it's also important, like we have an upper edge. If we've been in sales for any longer than a few years, our data set on like what one failure feels like, if we've knocked 10,000 doors, 100,000 doors, we get one door slammed in our face. We get one hang up on a call. We get one not interested. That's 1 out of 1,000. So the relative impact it has on us is very little. But someone who's brand new, they've only had a few and they get failure. That's 50% of everything they've ever done. So,
Yeah.
so that ability to show them, it's difficult though, right? Because it's like, okay, well, I have this innate experience and data set, so it's easier for me to shrug it off. You've made 5 calls, you've knocked 10 doors. How do I get that ability to just wipe off failure into you? And really the only thing you can do is lead from the front, and then they observe that failure. You're just like, I don't care, whatever, next. That's all you can do. You know?
Right. And then also, like, when we're brand new, looking around and seeing who's successful. If they're successful, why can't you be successful?
Yep.
I look at other people that are performing and doing amazing, incredible things. If they're like that, well, I can do that. There's no reason. There's nothing different about me. We're the same flesh and blood. We're all going to die. You know, we have these things in common. It doesn't matter with the personality types. If they can do it, I can do it. What are they doing right? What are they doing? Like, what's their mindset? What are they doing? What are their habits? Like, what are the things these guys are doing? And so very early on, you're exactly right, Josh, is very early on, dude, when you get your ass kicked, you want to quit. You're like, dude, McDonald's is sounding really good right now. I know they pay $15 an hour. I get a free meal, right? You're thinking this crazy shit. You're thinking this safety. But I think those that take all the risks get all the rewards. And sometimes this job is a risk, especially when you're early on, brand new, man. It's a risk. You know, your parents, people are going to be, the dream stealers are going to tell you, what are you doing? You're crazy. You're not going to make money. You're going to knock doors. You're crazy, man. You got a 4-year college, university education. What are you doing? And I think that those ideas, those dream stealers, and stuff, being very precise about who we're looking to and who we're watching, and looking at guys like yourselves and looking for other guys in the industry that are performing at a high level and that have these consistent results are the people that I always want to look at. I want to find out what they're doing to be successful. Study successful people. If you're going to study losers, man, find out what not to do. But don't study losers, man. Study the people that are successful and are performing at high levels. Everybody has one of those guys in their company. 20% of the sales industry do 80% of the sales, and there's a top 20% of the 20%. What are those guys doing? What are they doing? If you're in those companies, find those guys, get in their back pocket, and figure out what they're doing right. What are you doing, man? How are you doing this? I'm really interested. Can I take you out to lunch? Can I buy you lunch? Whatever you can do, take those guys out, ask them what they're doing, figure it out. They'll give you advice. Everybody's willing to help others, right? We can't keep what we have unless we give it away. And so people, the successful people are always willing to help others. And so you see this every single day in every single walk of life. People are always wanting to help others.
You're doing it right now. You're literally giving free value to the audience just because you know something and you can help them out purely for that reason alone. And part of what I've been listening to you is that you also setting still. I didn't realize. I thought you were just closing deals that you had your teams set, but you're actually still setting. Do you have any goals with setting? Do you want like one day like not have to worry about that and just do closing, or do you like setting appointments because you get those self gens, or like are you doing it to train to keep people doing? Like, how do you keep the balance of setting and closing if you could just do closing alone and maybe have more time?
That's a great question. So just closing alone gets super boring, right? To be honest with you, knocking doors is hard, but it's super interesting, right? You meet all sorts of crazy people. This guy I had today, he was yelling at me in his little screen door, wouldn't come out of his screen door. And what I love with these, this is how I anchor. I always talk about anchoring myself back to the moment when I had quit my job and came down to do door to door, and anchoring myself back to that confident moment. This guy was yelling at me, trying to slam the door on me. And I converted this guy from yelling at me to giving me his information to committing to making an appointment, right?
Woo!
That's a success.
Let's go.
Sell that guy or not is irrelevant at this point.
Yeah.
I took a guy that was yelling at me and transferred his energy into be one of curious. And if I can do that consistently and I can keep a base like that, I'm always going to do that. The problem with most people in this industry, they don't want to knock doors. Well, why don't you want to knock doors? Because it's hard. Because you're going to get rejected at the kitchen table. What's worse? Somebody you didn't talk to or invest in, or somebody that you invest an hour or 2 hours in? For me, the investment in 2 hours is far worse. It hurts a lot more the walk of shame, walking to the front door when they told you no, or when they're kicking you out of your house. And I get kicked out of houses a lot of times if I wait and exhaust every measure. But I like to keep a balance of that. Do I do that all the time? No. If I'm running appointments, I'm going to be running appointments. But if I have space in my calendar, I make it a point to go out there and knock doors and remember what it's like. And also, self-gens, you make a ton of cash from a
There
self-gen.
you go.
If I go
Double it
gen
up.
my appointment, I get the full pop. I don't have to split with anybody. And the other thing is, like, people rely on these lead setters, and then they want to keep a lead setter because they live in a law of lack. I live in a law of abundance, man. I'm always trying to transfer people up and up level people, and I know there's going to be more people to come. Right? A lot of times with doors with closers, they don't want to knock doors, and they want to keep their setters where they're at because it's a good relationship. And what they're doing is they're selling themselves short from building a substantial amount of team and allowing the next guy to grow and evolve into a new way of life. And so I always graduate my setters. Some setters want to stay setters for a very long time. I got to push them out of the nest. I'd be like, dude, it's time for you to close, man. It's time for you to close. You got to get out of the nest. And I literally got to push them out. But also being willing to knock doors. People like hate knocking. Dude, I love knocking doors. You meet interesting people. You meet some assholes. You meet some douchebags. I met a couple douchebags today. But you're going to meet those people that are yelling at you. And by the time you're done, they're giving you information and setting an appointment and committing to an appointment. Dude, there's nothing better than that. That's just as good as a close. Now, the difference with setting an appointment is you're not cashing checks. When you're in front of a person and you're spending an hour, 2 hours, or 3 hours, you're cashing checks at that point. And so what a lot of times guys will do is they don't have time to go knock doors. And so they focus exclusively on just sitting in front of kitchen tables and closing people. But I like a wide range of both. And I like both of them. I'm good at knocking doors and I'm good at closing. So I like both of them. I like to train both. I like to do both of them.
Yeah, my favorite thing, I can imagine homeowners telling you when they say, get a real job. So like everybody watching, if you're the first day, they even tell Luke Ward to go get a real job. So it has nothing to do with them, right?
Happened last week. That shit happens all the time. And I'm like, well, what job are you working at? I just wonder, what job do you think are they hiring? Do they pay 7 figures at your job? Because I'm just wondering, do they give you 7 figures? If they'll give me 7 figures, I'll do it. But if they're not, I'm not going to do it because I'm making 7 figures here. Is that a real job? I don't know if that's real enough for you. We're helping others, and asking these questions and stuff. And then kind of, some of those things is you always get rejected. People always get rejected. A couple of weeks ago, I had my worst week of my career, dude. I went to 9 appointments, 9 in a row, and didn't close a single one. That was an entire week's worth of work. We talk about one day of being bad, but when you start questioning everything, right? Like, dude, what did I do? What am I doing? Like, what's going on here? Should I jump off a cliff? Should I quit? Should I go work at McDonald's? Like all of this jargon that goes on in your head, just realizing, man, it's a bad time, man. And how am I going to pull myself up? When am I going to stay in myself in this spunk, or I'm going to put my big boy pants on and I'm going to go there and I'm going to go to work and I'm going to do what I do. And I'm going to try the very best I can. I'm going to try the very best I can to be the best presenter, the best closer, and the best door knocker I can. And I'm just going to improve. And I'm going to do what I always did. And realize there was kind of out of those 9 people, one of those I made a mistake on. The rest were not in the position. There was no opportunity. We talk about this when you're in front of kitchen tables. Is there an opportunity there? Because people will waste your time with no intention to buy. It doesn't matter if it's $3,000. They're not making a decision today, no matter what you do, no matter what offer you present.
You get those
they're
too?
not making a decision.
I didn't know you got any of those, Luke. I thought they skipped you.
I had one yesterday like that. I was like, dude, why are we here? Why are we here? Isolating the objection because, anyways, again, the nuances of sales. Trying to isolate the what if close. You want to isolate the objection so you can overcome it. I isolated the objection, but then he gave me like 3 more. I'm like, dude, is it this one or this one or this one? Which one is it? Because you're saying all of these. First you said it was this and now it was this. But yeah, that happens. I think the other thing too is that when we see people's success, we don't see the blood, sweat, and tears that they had to go through to get that, right? We see people performing at a high level, whether it's in sales or just in life in general. We see them with this outward success, and we don't see what they had to do to get there, right? Michael Jordan, for example, that guy was in the gym at 3, 4 in the morning, dude. He was there before anybody else, and he was the last one to leave. Did we see that? No. We saw him doing the super dunks and winning championships. What did he do to get there? It was the blood, sweat, and tears. It was being first in the gym, last one to leave. It was outworking everybody else. And a lot of times you don't see that. You don't see their failures. You don't see the stuff that they have to go through on a daily, weekly, monthly, annual basis to be able to get where they're at. And so people that are like not having that type of success, they want to compare their insides to everybody's outsides and don't understand that everybody has to earn their stripes. All of us have to go through the ups and the downs and the failures and the successes. And so I think so often we get into the comparison, the thief of joy, and we start comparing the insides to the outsides. Well, they're successful. Why are they successful? All I see is their successes. And we forget about all of the shit that they had to go through to get there.
You know, speaking of successes, only seeing that's social media to me. I know you mentioned social media before that. You don't go on there and you don't waste your time watching it. But the other side, it's really important, I think, these days to produce and to show what you're doing, and for
Yeah.
recruiting, for your branding, for whatever else. And I know that you're definitely getting your feet wet, getting your toes wet in the water, and getting yourself out there more. Do you plan on utilizing social media more? Because I think you with your brand and what you're doing in the industry needs to be out there more, and that people see like, oh shit, these kind of people are out there. I want to be like that, and so. What are you doing? Are you going to get out there more? Are you doing anything different? Are
Yeah.
you trying any plans, any strategies?
I appreciate you. So the reason why I don't get on social media, I get sucked in, dude. And then like I just waste. I was like, dude, it's been 2 hours. What's going on here? I can't get off here. I'm getting dopamine hits. So I hired a social media manager to manage my Instagram probably 18 months ago. You know her. She's working with
Yeah,
Heather.
Heather Lackey. Woo!
She's been managing my social media for I think 18 months is when I started it. My thing is like creating content and videos, something that could help utilize and help people. So this year, when I was doing my goals before the beginning of the year, it took about 2 weeks to do my goals, and I really reflect on where I'm at and what I'm doing. And really, the reflection came into like, how many people can I help selling solar? What type of team can I build? Can I affect the lives of hundreds? Can I affect the lives of thousands? What is the amount of people that I can add value to? And the answer came to me like, dude, I'm not going to affect and make value to very many people's lives doing what I'm doing. And so ultimately, this year came up with a game plan. This year came up with a game plan to make impact and add value to others. And so this year is going to be a lot about social media. It's going to be a lot about more
Right.
getting the information out there, helping up level and uplift people. I'm developing a training program right now. I just invested in this a lot of money into developing a training program, but also to uplift and up level. And the whole objective here isn't to make more money, although that will typically happen. When you add value to the marketplace, you're going to get paid, but to really help others. I've mastered probably one of the most difficult markets in the United States. I can give people the keys to freedom to write your own paycheck, and also to not be scared about what happens to the utility companies. And so it's about mass producing that information, getting it out online, and developing partnerships with people that we can create these systems and the processes, and do it a lot more social media. I have a game plan this year. I partnered with Andy Elliott. Andy Elliott's helping me create a training system. I'm going to record all my videos. He helped me create a CRM. But here's the thing: the different with me, I'm still going to sell lights out, bro. I can do the training and develop the training program, and I can still sell lights out. I can still hit a golden door year after year after year, and still develop a training value, a system, and add value and make impact. My objective this year is to make impact and add value to millions of people's lives. So we'll see how it goes. This is kind of a new frontier. When I get in front of the camera, get me in front of 10,000 people, I can crush it. But when I get in front of a camera, I'm like, dude, it's a challenge. It's a little bit more difficult. I'll master that like I've mastered everything else. And the objective this year is just to help others. I think that I can add value to anybody's life, whether you're a top performer, whether you're a low performer, whether you're a mid-range performer. I think that the information that I've collected through my hard-won experience and failures can learn to help others and allow people to perform at a high level and to be the 1%ers in this industry and in life. I've overcome a lot of challenges. Don't measure me by my successes. Measure me by how many times I got up after I failed. My failures have been the greatest teachers in my life and have allowed me to have experiences and processes that I've developed along the way that has taught me to be successful and to be able to teach that to others.
You've
Maybe
been on
this
video
thought will
for
motivate you
time.
with the camera, with the camera stuff, Luke. Because I was the same as you, just like grinding, business, whatever. And I was always thought like the camera, social media content, that's for fucking losers, man. But like a thought entered into my head. It was like, I'm doing all this really fucking cool stuff. Sometimes it's with a team. Sometimes it's just one-on with a customer. But so much magic is happening in that moment. In order to change the lives of that one customer, I needed to do 100 units of cool stuff. But I'm actually doing 1,000 units of cool stuff. So I need to somehow capture that and then change 10x the amount of people's lives instead of just me and this one customer. And I love the Zig Ziglar quote. It's one of my favorite quotes of all time. If you get anything you want, if you allow enough people to get anything they want or something like that, like that's the way to do it, right?
Yeah.
And if you're still selling one-on-one, you are limited 100%. Even if you're doing 500% of your energy into that one customer, doesn't matter. A lot of it's lost. You start getting that into a cool form of content, build a community, build an audience around you. That is how you affect the most people right now.
Right. It's awesome, dude. Appreciate that. Yeah,
And
what you guys are doing is absolutely incredible. I've never been on Instagram because I know I get sucked in. I'm going to have to get on there eventually, have to create some content. I do watch YouTube videos, but it's always about personal development and training myself and getting better. I have a Facebook that I get in, and I try not to get in because I get sucked in. I've got the obsessive compulsive quality. So if something feels good, I rock it to the wheels fall off. So I just got to limit that, and then also create content that the marketplace is going to that's going to do add value and make impact. This year's
produce, don't consume.
Yeah.
I think there's value in consuming the right stuff for sure, but just produce, don't consume. Just don't even touch socials. Just get your phone up and just record yourself doing shit throughout the day and give it to whoever to post. Simple.
That's a great strategy. I saw Joe. He had someone follow him around the whole time, bro. I was like, this guy's genius. Fucking genius. So any of that stuff, I think that content, and I think that people that do consume content, don't get me wrong, man. If you're consuming the right content, dude, you will elevate, right? We talked about this a lot about the thief of comparison is joy. But if you're looking at what people are doing and the bar that they've set and the success that they're having, and you look at that and you leverage that as a tool to be better, that's going to be that's an incredible tool, right? That's an incredible tool. Some of my tools, I mean, I'm really good at sales. I'm really good at solar sales and sales in particular, because I always was willing to invest in my career. I was willing. So they had a training platform that they used for years for like the 3 months at Fusion Power. Then they got rid of it. I went and bought it myself. I was like, dude, this is a good investment. I watched a training video every single day for over 18 months. I did not miss a day. Every single day, 5-minute video clip. Anybody can do that for 5 minutes. On my way out to area, I'm watching a video clip. Uplifting and up-level yourself. And social media does that, because you get so many people that want to help and want to make an impact. It's about finding that person that has something that you like or you desire, and then just latching onto that and consuming that content to improve. Not letting it control your life, but be able to consume that content so that you get to improve it and get better. I'm a firm believer in that. Whatever it comes, whether it comes through Instagram, whether it comes through YouTube, whether it comes through Facebook, wherever it comes, I think that content is always going to be for the greater good.
Well,
But
every
I'm
time
going to start implementing that, Josh. Don't worry, bro. I'll start doing it right now. I was already thinking to do this today. My wife recorded these sets that I made. Incredible sets. Maybe we'll release those. I like to critique myself, but maybe I'll start releasing some of these sets.
And release your bad shit as well. You know, like, because if this is the first time you're releasing your own personal stuff, you're going to be like, oh, it has to be fucking perfect. But think about that language. Like everyone, but you know, that's not how you do shit. You just get shit out there, right? Even if it's garbage. I'll with my community, I'll do a review of like a call I've recently done. And I won't just go look how good I did. I will literally pause it and say, guys, did you see what I just did there? That's shit. That I should not have done that.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, that's good. Don't do that. That's how I lost the sale. I did that earlier. Exactly. Yeah, that's good. That's good information. Well, that's why I appreciate you guys, what you're doing in the industry, man. It's the other thing too is that solar, I think it's more and more popularized, but if people knew that they have this opportunity, and if they knew there was a deadline and that it's disruptive and there's this massive sense of urgency, everybody would be in this industry. And there's more than enough for all of us. There's more than enough. I live in a law of abundance, man. There's more than enough. You can't ever get enough good content out there. You can't ever get enough good leaders out there. The world needs that. And it's aching and it's desiring these good leaders that are setting the bar and setting what's possible, and also showing behind the magic, how they're doing it, what they're doing is possible. I'm always looking at guys like this. I mainly read books, but also consume lots of YouTube content with how to improve. YouTube's like the greatest stat of all time. If you want to know how to change a tire, watch YouTube. If you want to know how to sell a solar deal, watch YouTube. If you want to know how to clean your pool, watch YouTube. If you want to know how to do, electrical engineering, watch YouTube, man. There's a video that's made for it. It's the greatest dad of all time. It's the dad that knows everything, right? And so some of those things are incredible, amazing tools that need to be leveraged and used to improve our lives and to improve our sales skills and to just get better.
Well, you've been great on camera this whole time for this whole podcast. So I want to make sure I shout you out there. And one last thing, I want to make sure, get you on stage at SolarCon this year in a couple months. I want to make sure I do, shout that out. You're going to be at SolarCon this year and get you on stage, Luke?
I think they asked me to speak finally, man. You guys have been snubbed in the face the last 2 freaking years. I did a panel for you guys 2 years ago. You guys have sales guys on, but you don't have the #1 seller guy in the nation on for 3 years running, bro. So they already asked me to speak. So
Yeah.
I think Jake Hess, I think Trey was like, dude, we got to get this guy on. And then I think Jake just asked me to speak. I don't know where I'm speaking. Might be on another panel. I would love to be able to give value and make impact. And I think that I can do that with what I've learned in the solar game and what I've learned to do that with life. I know that I can create massive amount of impact. If you want to know how to sell 300 accounts a year, talk to me. I've been doing it consistently year after year after year.
Bro, I've been a big fan of yours for a while now, and I shout you out to anybody. You guys see what Luke Waters doing? This guy is amazing. Definitely want to get you on stage at SolarCon this year, so make sure everybody knows you will see Luke Ward on stage at SolarCon this year for sure. Okay, but besides, I appreciate you having being on this time for the whole time, going over the time you're expected, but. To let the audience know what I know you mentioned about this year with social media and things you're expecting, but what's next for you? What's the next thing on the page for Luke Ward?
Next thing on my page is developing a training program that impacts and adds value to people's lives, but also still selling lights out. A lot of guys that do this, I respect and love them, but they create these training programs and then they stop doing what made them be successful. Listen, I love door-to-door sales. Listen, I love being in front of kitchen tables. I love helping people. Right? This is what I love doing. And so developing a training system and a coaching program where I can help others and not just tell them what to do, but show them what to do by leading from the front. I've always led from the front with my organizations. And so leading from the front, but also being able to help them up, doing a hand up and show them how to do it, actively still doing it, but developing a training program that's easy to implement and a strategy to make 7 figures in this industry. It's very easy to do. You just have to figure out the algorithm, and I've created the algorithm with my hard-won FUTS experience, and so being able to train it and be able to do that stuff, I've also it makes so much money solar. You need to be investing in real estate. You need to have something that's going to give you some retirement. I own 5 or 6 apartment complexes across the nation. It's allowed me to live a life beyond my wildest dreams with the amount of money I've made here and helping others. So I get to help others and I get to help myself and I get to feed my family and give my family a life beyond my wildest dreams and stuff as well.
100%. How can people reach out to you? Is it social media? Go to Fusion Power? What's the best way to reach out to Luke Ward?
Luke Ward Official is my Instagram handle. You can message me on there. I'm going to have a link tree that's going to be coming out hopefully before SolarCon. You'll be able to reach out to me on there. You can shoot me a DM, you can shoot me a message. What I really want people to do is tell me something you're struggling with. Tell me an objection. Give me something that is just getting your ass kicked, and so that I can help you, right? There's not an objection I can't overcome. There's no objection out there that I can't overcome. I have rehearsed every single objection. I can overcome any single one there is. And so if there's an objection, if there's something you're struggling with, if there's something that I can help you with my experience, strength, and hope, reach out to me, DM me, or you can call me. I'll give you my phone number. It's 208-541-3146. Be patient with me. I get hundreds of texts a day. I don't always respond that day, but I'll eventually respond back. So.
Beautiful. It sounds like you want to be on the Solar Objections Championships panel. Would you be down with that? Yeah. Oh my God. We got Luke Ward on the Solar Objections. You heard it.
Give me a challenge. You got to give me a real objection, though. Can't be a condition. Has to be an objection.
Oh, yes. I know my objections. I can tell you that. Josh, anything else before we let my man go?
Love it. Love it so much. Everything's awesome conversation. Thanks for coming on, Luke.
Luke, you're the man, bro.
Today.
Appreciate you.
Have a good one, people.